Okay, so on this week's Ask the Expert, we have with us Ken Brandt, and he's written a book called Positive Vision. Enjoy the the adventures and advantages of poor eyesight. I read this book a couple of weeks ago, and it really struck a chord with me, not just because I'm sort of working in the world of poor eyesight, but also it's a great read, really easy, and very, very interesting and humorous. So what we'll do is I'll let you introduce yourself, Ken, and then, yeah, we'll go from there. So, yeah, thank you for joining us today, Ken.
Well, thanks very much for having me. I'm a retired guy. I spent most of my career in technology and cybersecurity, and I retired, and I never really wanted to discuss my vision because I thought it would be tough on my career, or people would feel bad for me or something. But I've had a lot of different eye situations. I've had a roller coaster of vision throughout my life. It's just going up and down, where I was legally blind for many years. I've had 6 eye operations, 2 detached retinas, 2 cataract operations. And I'm very, very nearsighted, but very, very thankful to all the doctors, nurses, medical technology scientists, and everything else that have enabled me to see it all.
Excellent.
And then I wrote Positive Vision, enjoying the adventures and advantages of poor eyesight. So that was pretty fun. So now I discuss vision all the time. I'm not avoiding the subject, and I get to meet people like you, and it's a blast.
Excellent. Well, I think this is the thing. I think it's so important because I think sometimes, or quite a lot of the time, especially if somebody's lost their sight sort of later on in life, they can see it as, yeah, kind of a disadvantage, and yeah, they're maybe not making the most of life. And one of the things that struck me with your book is it says what it is on the tin. I mean, the adventures and advantages, and it really is that you've got some key advantages in there, which, yeah, embarrassingly, yeah, I wasn't really aware of. You really opened my mind to a lot of these sort of things. So I think what I'd like to do is, if I could, is talk to you about the adventures, because I know there are tons in the book. And the one that I liked the most, I think, was the chase around New York City when you were chasing after a thief. that was something I wasn't expecting to read in this sort of book, but that was really interesting. Could you just yeah, I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but I'd really like you to tell us that, because I think that was a really interesting story.
Well, thank you. And this happened when I was I forget, like in my 30s or something. So I had a friend, we both lived in New York City. We'd been friends since we were 8 years old. And we had since gone to school, in primary school, middle school, and high school. And then we're friends in New York when we both moved to New York. So he and I were out having beers. It was a work night. So, the next day we both had to go to work. But anyway, we stayed out really late having a lot of beers. And we were walking back towards my apartment where he had also parked his car. And all of a sudden, he starts running. He doesn't say a word. He just starts running. So we're wearing suits. You wouldn't normally think you'd be running. So I start running. We used to be on the track team together, and we used to run in all kinds of races. So I start running, and I'm looking back, and I don't see anybody chasing us. What are we doing here? We didn't do anything wrong. Why are we running? Then I had to get much closer because you could see it farther away. And then I realized, wait a minute, there's somebody breaking into his car. We're not being chased. We're chasing somebody. So then the guy sees us, and then he takes off. So he goes down the block. He's carrying his stuff, and he's running hard. So we're all on the footpath, on the sidewalk, and we're running along, and then the thief dodges into the middle of the street. John dodges into the middle of the street. I stay on the footpath. So now I've caught up a little bit. I'm parallel to him. So I'm looking over, I'm parallel, I'm running, and then I miss. I don't see this mattress that some people had thrown out on the sidewalk, and I trip over it, and I'm in the air, and it just seemed like I was going to be in the air forever, right? Because, you know how things go in slow motion sometimes. And I'm thinking, this is going to hurt, because I'm really flying. And I land on a sidewalk and a bunch of garbage cans. And yeah, it was a bad day for my suit. So I get up after a second, and then they turn a corner. So John is chasing them up the avenue. I turn the corner, but I'm behind now by quite a bit. So I'm looking and I can't figure out, they turn down another corner and I don't know which one. So I go up and I turn and I look, I turn and I look, and I miss them. I don't see them. So I go up 5 more blocks and then I said, all right, I'm just going to guess. I'm going down this street and hopefully I catch them. So I go down the street and I'm running, and we're running hard. And then the police come, and the police stop me because they think I'm the thief. So I'm on the police car in a position and I'm getting frisked, and then something comes over the radio and I couldn't hear what it said, but they let me go. They didn't tell me anything that was going on. They just left. So, okay, fine. So then I run back towards where we were thinking, all right, maybe they'll end up there or we'll see what happens. In the meantime, what happened with John is he runs, he chases him another few blocks, catches him, but then the guy gets away because John's so exhausted from running, the guy was able to get away. So he gets away, and then a guy on a bicycle comes, and the bicycle guy and John are both chasing this guy. The bicycle guy is a total stranger, but he's just helping. They're both yelling out for everybody to call the cops. A doorman sees the thief throw what turned out to be his burglar tools and John's radio, which he pulled out of the car, into some bushes. So that guy, the doorman, reports that to police. He has the stuff. They chase him back in the same direction, and John catches him on the pretty close to the route where we were before. So John has him, and I don't see John, and I just see a bunch of people, and I'm running, and then I see the guy that we're trying to catch. And I go, oh, this is great. So I sprint hard, and I'm pretty sure the best, I was a pretty athletic guy. I run, I do stuff. I used to be a high jumper, so I run and I think the best jump I've ever done in my life. And I'm jumping up past these guys. And then as I'm at the peak in the air, I realize, well, wait a minute. Like, these guys are all cops surrounding him. And they have their guns and batons out very quickly because there's some guy they don't know, me, up in the air going, yeah. And so in the middle of them is the guy that John caught, and John is so out of breath he can hardly say anything, but luckily he does say something, and he goes, no, it's okay, he's with me, so he basically saved me from the police in that instant. So then what happened was, the police, after a while, he actually threw up on the police, which was not helping his case whatsoever, the thief. So then John and I are going, all right, that was really good. We saved the day here. And then, so wait a minute, what about your car? Your car's still open, so we go back the same way, right? So we're running back the same way. And very embarrassingly, I'm running and I trip over the exact same mattress in the same place on the sidewalk. And I'm again flying in the air thinking, this time I'm not thinking about how much it'll hurt. I'm just thinking, this is so embarrassing. How did this happen? Smash, land on the sidewalk again, get up, we go back to the car, and nothing else was missing. Everything seemed okay. We later find out that the guy confessed. They had his tools, they had his fingerprints all over everything. They had his fingerprints from a whole bunch of prior robberies. So we didn't have to go to court or testify or anything. So that was good. I think you can make a pretty strong case that I wasn't that helpful in the entire chase, but to this day, John, being a very, very good friend, insists that I was essential to the whole thing, and gives me equal credit, which is very nice of him.
That's good. Well, it's even better hearing it from your voice. There's so many of those stories in there. I mean, it's the fact when you were saying about sort of running fast, because I think that was one of the things with the book that I took from. I don't know whether you stated it, but you seem to be a person that likes to go fast. So even though, yeah, you've got poor eyesight, going fast seems to be your thing, and yet it's not like you're in a career where that's a real necessity. You know, you're probably a desk jockey kind of thing. And yeah, I really, that's the thing. Because the other thing, also the sort of parachuting, again, that was something that, yeah, was kind of an interesting story there. And yeah, I thought it was amazing. I mean, it probably wouldn't happen these days, but the fact that you were, you know, going through the air and then thinking, hang on a minute, where do I find out where to land? And yeah, luckily,
well, well, it is pretty amazing, you know, if you, the number of things you could do where nobody really asks you what your vision is.
Yeah.
You know, I used to wear glasses for most of my life, and then contact lenses. And then since having a cataract operation in each eye, the lenses are actually embedded in your eye. So you're doing as best you can to see as well as you can, but it's not as obvious as if you were wearing eyeglasses.
Yeah.
But it's still, anybody who's hanging around me realizes, you know, I'm just not seeing as much, and my eyes are slightly crossed more, if the more tired I am, the more so. So people figure it out, but you're right. The speed thing is related, because I do like going fast. You know, running usually no problem. You know, but if it's at night, and you know, I don't run usually at night. And then bicycling, I like the bicycle, but you know, I can easily go way faster than I can see the bumps and the dips in the road and stuff coming up. So I don't do that so much. And then driving. You know, driving is a ton of fun. However, it's very, very good for society and the world and everything, that I cannot get a driver's license. You know, there'd just be dead people all over the place, probably. But well, that's why I thought parachuting would be fun to try. So I thought, like, you know, you're just in the air, you know, you're not going to hit anything. It's like you go really fast. It would be fun. So I signed up to learn parachuting when I was in university. And a couple of friends and I went to a place called Downsville, Maryland. Actually called Downsville. That's the real name of it. The parachute training school was in that town. And we had spent a long time, you know, most of a day learning about everything, you know, how to steer the parachute. You practice jumping off tall boxes to learn how to land, which is it's a good skill to have. You want to learn everything. You learn about the backup parachute. You learn what to do if you're about to land in some trees, which is cross your legs. You know, you do not want to branch between your legs while you're landing. So anyway, so we go up. I go up in for the first time, and I'm in this it's a very little plane that we have. It's not like all the movies where it's a big plane and there's a door they open and then you jump out. This is a tiny little plane with only one seat, and the pilot sits in the seat, and the instructor and the 3 or 4 skydiver trainees, including me, are sitting on the floor. And we take up a lot of space because you parachute and your backup parachutes in front. But you get in this, you go through the door, and it's just an opening. There's nothing to close. So you go up in the plane, and I'm sitting inches away from this opening. Now, you're already a little nervous and apprehensive and excited about your first parachute jump. But when you're sitting right next to this opening while the plane is taking off and flying to wherever you're going, you know, that just adds a whole nother level of excitement. You know, I did not want to fall out before I was supposed to parachute. So anyway, and we get to the right place, and it's my turn. And on this little plane, you have to you have to sort of crawl and hang out. So you, in between the wing of the plane, under the wing of the plane is a bar, and you're holding onto that. And then above the wheel of the plane is another bar, and you're standing on that. So you're holding on for dear life. You're outside the plane. The plane is flying at full speed. The wind is coming at you. The roar of the engines, you know, and, you know, I'd never been outside a plane holding on before. It was very exciting by itself, and I hadn't even done anything, you know? So then the instructor goes, And you know he's saying jump. What else could he be saying? So then you go, and you, after holding on for dear life, you let go. You jump back, and the first 3 jumps, you're connected with your parachute's connected, your ripcord is connected. So it's supposed to open right away, right? But right away is a very relative thing. That plane is flying, and you're watching the plane go really far away, and the parachute hasn't opened yet. You're thinking, wait a minute, doesn't seem right, and you know it's really bad to open your backup parachute if your parachute's going to open, because then they get tangled up and it's a giant disaster and you could fall like a brick, right? But you also want some parachute. So you're waiting, all right, should I open it? Should I not open it? So all right, finally my parachute opens. And let me tell you, that's one of the best feelings in your life when your parachute opens, you know? So, and this was, I forgot to mention, this is not what a lot of people do today, where you go and you're strapped to somebody and there's an experienced skydiver and you're really along for the ride. They jump out and you're attached to them, so you go out, they steer the parachute, they land, and you're with them. This was us doing everything, you know? So anyway, so then I get out, and then I'm looking around, and like you said, I'm thinking for the first time, and I should have thought about this a little beforehand, am I going to be able to see where I'm supposed to land? You know, and I'm thinking, I don't know where I'm supposed to land at first, you know, and then I did it by deduction, you know, so there's everywhere I could see, there was a highway and fields with crops in them, and one spot that was brown, like a brown square, little square. So I said, all right, that's it. I think, I don't know where else I would go. So I aimed for that, get much, much closer, and then I could see, all right, wait a minute, this is good. There's a big circle of people. So I aim for the center of that circle, get much, much closer. And then I could see, all right, there's a frisbee. I had to get way closer. I could see there's a frisbee size target in the middle. So in competitive parachuting, you aim for a little target. You want to hit it or get as close as you can. So I got pretty close. So I was pretty happy. And then they asked you if you wanted to jump again. And I said, of course, this is like one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life. So they said, well, do you want to pack your own parachute, or do you want us to do it for you? And I figured, well, I'm taking my life in my hands. I want to learn everything about this sport and do it right. And, you know, I'm going to be very careful. It's my own parachute. I'm going to make sure I do it right. So they had told us how to do it. So I go out of the circle into the field. And what you do is you spread the parachute out, and then there's a way to fold it up. But when the wind is blowing, the first thing you have to do is spread it out and put rocks, medium and small size rocks, all over it, so the wind doesn't blow it, stays in the right shape. And then as you fold it, you toss the rocks out, right?
Yep.
So I think I'm doing just a bang up job. It's, you know, I think I'm doing a great job. It's all packed. I'm all excited. Go up in the plane again, same exact thing. For some reason, I'm next to the door again. I mean, the opening, there's no door. But all right, I'm used to that now. Go out on the wing, jump, same thing, right? Parachute opens, it just feels great, but only for a little tiny second, because this time, all of a sudden, bam, 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 all these rocks, like tons of rocks. I had missed dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of rocks. Bam, 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 bam. Luckily, you wear a motorcycle helmet when you parachute, so it didn't hurt at all. But I was thinking, all right, I hope nobody's below me. And so I looked, I didn't see anybody, but, you know, I wasn't really sure I would see them anyway. But nobody ever complained. I never heard anything about it. Nobody ever said they got hit by a rock. So I think it all worked out. And the third time I did it, I did much better. I got all the rocks out of there. I was much more careful. It is better to take your time and get rid of the rocks.
Yeah, you don't say.
Yeah. So, and then after that, or maybe between the second and third, I don't know, I forget exactly when, I became the captain of my university parachuting team, because I was good at getting close to the target, and I was good at drinking beer with the more experienced people. So between those two things, they made me the captain, which I really liked. But then my eye doctor advised, he goes, well, If you have a very hard knock to the head and you've had a detached retina, which I'd had in both eyes, you could go blind in the detached retina eye. It could get detached again. So I had to very reluctantly, but it's a good idea, I think, to give up my captaincy and parachuting, even though I probably would have I know I would have kept going because I really thought it was fun. But it was great, but it's one of those things with poor vision where, all right, I didn't parachute more, but you could make a case that might have contributed to me living a longer life. I would have also liked to have, driven and raced motorcycles and stuff. That was just out of the question. And those kind of interests, avoiding those probably led to a longer life. So, there's a good side to all of these things.
Well, this is the thing. And I think, maybe some of the people that are listening to this now say, oh, well, it sounds like Ken's an adrenaline junkie. It doesn't really apply to me. But I don't think that's necessarily the case, because we've talked a lot there about the adventure side. But of course, the other part of the book is about the advantages of poor sight. And yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, one of the key ones that I took from it that I'd never really thought about before was you were talking about sort of the beauty of the world. And obviously, if I were walking, say, through New York City, you might notice the sort of the trash on the floor, that kind of thing.
So let me. I think I think the world is a more beautiful place for people with poor vision. So if it's me and somebody who has great vision and we're standing around and we're looking at beautiful meadows and forests and beaches and mountains and lakeside views, or we're looking at beautiful man-made things, really cool scenes in a city, beautiful bridges, quaint little towns, great big statues, or we're looking at people. We're looking at, beautiful and handsome people, So we're standing there, me and somebody you can see really well. We're looking at all this stuff, right? So I'm looking and I'm thinking, hey, this is great. But the person who has really good vision is going to go, oh, wait a minute, there's a little dent over here. There's a little wrinkle over here. There's a little rust over here. There's a little litter over here that I don't necessarily see any of that. It is a more beautiful scene for me and many others. So I think that's a really cool thing.
Definitely. And also,
and then there's other stuff too, like there's tons of other advantages, another one some people are sort of surprised about is public speaking. I think if you have poor vision, you can be better at public speaking. Most of the things I'm about to mention, like anybody can take advantage of, but some are easier for people with poor vision. When you're on stage and you're looking at an audience, if you have poor vision, well, first of all, a lot of people are terrified of public speaking. There've been polls that, amazingly enough, a lot of people, if they had the choice between death and giving a speech, they would choose death. There's just a lot of people like that. So if you have poor vision and you're looking at an audience, you probably can't see the whole audience. So you don't really care, and you're not intimidated if it's a medium audience versus a big audience. It could be a giant audience, but you can only see so many of them anyway.
Yep.
You might be more intimidated if a lot of your friends and family and your boss and clients and stuff are there, but you might not be able to distinguish the faces. You're on stage, they're in the audience, you can't tell. So you're just going for it. You're giving your speech, you're less nervous. If you're on a stage where there's lights on you and you can hardly see the audience at all because of the lights, some people who have really great vision, that really bothers them because they can't see the facial expressions and stuff. But, people like me, we can't see anybody's facial expression from a distance anyway. So we're totally used to that. We're totally relaxed. The other thing is, we're used to, if you have poor vision, you're used to judging an audience and a crowd's reaction by sound? You know, are they laughing in the right place? Are they talking when you were hoping that they would be listening? All of that kind of stuff, you're used to doing that. You're used to that being your primary way of telling what most of the audience is thinking. Whereas if you have good vision, but your eyes are being blocked by the light shining on you, you know, it's a little more scary. It's a tougher situation. So you have an advantage with poor vision. Another advantage is, some people might think of this as a disadvantage, but I think it's an advantage. You have to prepare more for a speech if you have poor vision, because like I would have PowerPoint slides or something and I'd be talking to them, but I can't read them as I'm giving my speech because, you know, I just can't see them well enough. So they're there, but they're not helping me figure out where I am. I have to memorize the outline. I have to memorize the anecdotes that go with it and the examples and stuff. So I've got to rumble through. Sometimes I would get off my outline, so my slides were not related to what I was talking about. And then sometimes I'd never figure it out, but sometimes I would realize partway through, and then I would just explain what happened. I'd say, you know, I can't really see these. And I was just talking through this. And then everybody would laugh. And then they're more in your corner. You know, you've brought the audience in a different kind of way. Nobody really cares. It was just keeping them on their toes anyway. So yeah. I think public speaking is one of the many advantages, along with beautiful world of poor vision.
Definitely. And I also think, again, sort of probably in the same vein as what you've just said there, I think a lot of people with poor vision probably, don't realize it, but they are more adventurous than people with sight, because that's the thing. A lot of the things that they do that people with sight would probably, not even think about, if they were to be either blindfolded or put on some sort of emulating specs, they would find it nerve-wracking. And yet every day, people with poor sight are going out to do things. Even, I mean, I don't think you use this as an example in your book, but I always think, you know, quite often I'm in London and just walking around London, there's so many kind of obstacles, there's roads, there's all sorts of things. Well, for somebody with poor vision that goes out and does that, maybe they don't consider themselves an adrenaline junkie, but equivalent, if you were to do that, if you were to put their sight in somebody that was sighted, I think they would probably, choose not to do a lot of the things that the person with poor vision does anyway. So I think it's a really good takeaway is that I mean
all kinds of stuff about walk. You know, like many people see worse than I do, or almost completely blind. But like if I'm running or something and I'm going along on the footpath or the road or pathway or something, is that dark spot a little oil spill? Is that a hole? Is that a shadow? Is that a root? What, like, I don't know. I can't tell until I'm way closer. It's, that just adds to the whole excitement of everything. I also think that's one of the things that maybe helps with better balance if you have poor vision. You're used to, with every step, maybe adjusting a little bit because you didn't know exactly the height of what you were stepping on.
No, it's a big one. And another one was the focus. I was really kind of interested when I got to the focus section. You sort of think, well, how does having poor vision kind of help you with your focus? But you'll probably be able to articulate it better than me. But could you talk to us about that, sort of the focus side of things?
Well, I think if you're nearsighted, like I am very nearsighted, you have to hold everything closer or be closer to it to really see it. So if I'm reading something or looking at a computer screen or reading sheet music, I want to be much closer in order to do that. So when you do that, you actually block your own view of lots of other stuff in the room or outdoors. If you're outdoors, you're holding the book up and you're blocking the whole peripheral and background stuff. So you're automatically not as distracted by stuff that you would see if you didn't have to be as close. Like in this Zoom, you're not nearly as close to the camera as I am, because I want to be here so I can see if I'm looking in the right direction of my face in the camera, if I move back, I can't really see my screen, and I have a large screen, so it's easier for me to see larger than smaller. But even so, I like being close for that reason. And it also makes it easier to concentrate. I'm not looking at anything else past the screen.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, and it's really pertinent, I think, at this point in time, because we're all so distracted by everything that's going on. And I know there's big schools of thought on sort of unitasking and focusing on things. And I think, again, it's probably important for people, maybe people that are in education or employment, to sort of realize they might have a superpower that they're not aware of.
Well, but also I'm not in any sense saying poor vision is better than good vision. I've had lots of ups and downs, and good vision is way better than poor vision. I say to everybody, it's like, do everything you can for your overall health, your eye health. Do what your eye doctor says. Take advantage of the great technology like you guys offer and are experts at. Do all of those things, but you're going to get to a point where you're at your own personal maximum vision, and that's it. Just be grateful that whatever that point is, that you can get there, and then whatever you want to do, just go for it. Give it a red hot go. Enjoy it. Enjoy life. Have fun. Just don't let that stop you. But laugh at yourself, because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to mistake certain things for other things. You're going to trip on things. You're going to bump into things. You're going to, you're going to just do things that other people aren't. And so what? Just go for it and have fun.
Absolutely. And I think actually on that topic there, something I haven't mentioned yet, which I think kind of adds to the book. Throughout the book, there are sort of a number that, the stories are humorous in themselves, but there's usually quite a serious message to it. But also there are jokes kind of smattered throughout that are really good. And I can't remember the guy's name. Who is the guy that wrote the jokes? I just think we may as well give him a shout out.
No, they're just eye and vision related jokes I found all over the internet. I have no idea who the author is. They weren't ascribed to anybody. They're repeated thousands of times. You couldn't figure out who owns them. It's different than at the end of each chapter, there's a joke or two or three. And then at the beginning of each chapter, there's an inspiring or humorous quote. The quotes, I was able to find out who to attribute them to, but not the jokes. How it is with the joke. I don't know who thought of any joke of any type, actually.
This is true. To be honest, this is very true. But it was interesting because I think I mentioned before when we were talking, I think I'd only ever heard one of the jokes. So people don't think that it's the same old jokes. I was really entertained by that. Well, thank you very, very much for your time today. What we're going to do is we'll do a sort of competition where we'll have several copies of this book available. So if you're interested, there we go. Brilliant. Positive.
Here we go.
Brilliant. That's the book, people. So if you're interested in that, we'll put a link in the video. If you're not a winner or you just want to go and buy it, I'd recommend it. It's really good. If you only read one book sort of before the end of the year, just grab it. It's a hoot. It's good. And like me, you're going to learn something. A lot of the time when we're talking to people, we'll quite often say that we're trying to sort of not just help the people that are sort of visually impaired themselves, but also family, friends and relatives and neighbors and all these types of people. And the book, although it's poor vision and so on, anybody could read it. It's a really interesting book. And thank you for your time today, but also thank you for writing that book, because I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Sure. Well, a lot of people read it just purely for the adventures and humor. They don't, and then other people read it because they have poor vision, or their friends or family do, and they want to get a little insight. But it's available everywhere that's every online store that sells books or ebooks or audiobooks. You can get it there.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Right. You take care, and no doubt we'll speak soon.
Or win the contest here and get it for free.
Yeah, exactly. Save some money. Thanks, Ken. Take care, man.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See ya.